it. I also don't think... What do you think, Eric, of Triple H saying, you are now the Authority?
That's a very silly, meaningless thing. I mean, I get in the bigger sense that he's saying we're listening to you, right? That's it. It's what you want, you will get.
That's the best way to think of it. Is that and like you mentioned, like Mustafa Ali, people getting their due who are really talented. Get like Sanity maybe going after the tag titles and all that stuff. More focus on people. It doesn't mean titles for everyone. But I also don't like the "you are the Authority" rhetoric. It makes me worry because, and this is when we get into the Raw as a live show in front of a live crowd versus Raw as an actual television show you have to watch weekly. Mm-hmm. Because you can pop a live crowd, but make a bad TV show. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Because if they think that giving us, quote unquote, what we want means good guys winning all the time and bad guys like Baron Corbin getting trashed every week, or somebody getting a pie in the face, or Kevin Owens getting knocked down in a porta potty, or basically things, or having the McMahons come out every week because they'll get cheered by a live crowd. That's not what we want.
Right.
That's what the live crowd is there to have a good time, and they're going to get caught up in a frenzy of, oh, this is cool to see Mr. McMahon live. I'm here live seeing things happen live. It's easy to pop a live crowd with certain things, but that doesn't mean that you're making a good product. Yes, most of the time they're one and the same, but there's also a split. So you can say, we're going to give you what you want, and that might mean a lot of humiliating things happening to heels on TV. I don't think Vince knows how to give us what we want necessarily without making bad guys lose a lot.
Right.
But does it mean we're actually will be getting what we want? The other thing is, a lot of us know what we don't want. If we're talking collectively as wrestling fans, we all know what we don't want when we see it. But we all have very different opinions on what we do want.
Right.
So what
are you saying, that you can't please everyone?
I'm just saying that we can all unite around the fact that Drake Maverick pissing himself is bad. Mm-hmm. But we all have different ideas of how we want to book things and what we want to see happen in the road to WrestleMania or anything. Like, we all have like so many splintered storylines and threads and branches that everyone thinks of. Like, they want to push this person, but I like this person. Like, there's really no unified what we want.
Sure.
But yeah, so yeah, I just think it's sort of hanky dangerous rhetoric. I hope they don't keep using it.
Right. Oh, the you are the Authority thing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's sort of destined to failure if they keep saying, we're definitely doing everything you want. Well, I might not. Yeah, the guy next to me might want something different than I want. But yeah, this week it was encouraging, right? It was very nice this week to see, that all these people suddenly get focused that would never get focused in previous weeks.
Yeah, it was. Did you see the knee that Mustafa Ali landed on Daniel Bryan's face?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's okay, and it was just funny because he whispered "Sorry, Brian" to him. Like, the mic picked it up. It was kind of cool. But yeah, it is encouraging. I really did like the gauntlet match. I like the fact that the women wrestled for an hour at the end of that.
Yep.
It was leading to a match that I'm not going to probably watch live. But yeah, so
yeah. But also, by the way, have to go into our trying to figure out the rules of the reality, which is the open challenge thing. It's so funny because I'm like, okay, wait. So earlier in the show, Dean did an open challenge, right? And Tyler had this big moment. But we've talked about this before. It's like, why don't like 1 million people run over? And then we've joked about like whosoever literally can get through Gorilla first and the chip.
Oh yeah. But, well, I was upset that it kind of ruined our idea about everyone having their arm chipped. But yeah.
but that's why I'm like, okay. but that's the thing is, like, you'd think every time someone does an open challenge for one of the titles, there'd be a shitload of people that are like, yeah, I want that. So why doesn't it? So, but this time we did see backstage every woman wanted to come out there. So I'm like, okay, but what's happening the other times?
Yeah,
because
but wouldn't it be like, why wouldn't it be like that? Ronda's done an open
challenge before. Yeah. And so why was it like that one time everyone happened to be standing right there? Like, I just don't understand. Trying to get the minutiae.
But is it usually up to like Jacob Doofus sitting there to decide who gets to go out? Like, because they're yelling at the people to play their music to hit their song, and they like, is it usually up to this sort of random production agents to? There's no like singular authority.
Does he hit shuffle and whoever plays first?
Yeah, he's like, it's just a really elaborate, like, it's just a series of exhausting coin flips to decide who gets to go out.
But yes, that aside, trying to figure out the minutia of the open challenge, I very much enjoyed as well that they got the women's gauntlet match, and that it was like, and again, they even like, and they were really trying to like push everyone. It's like Dana Brooke got to get some offense in, and they were talking her up. It was like, and so it was definitely, that seemed to be the mandate this week, is like, the people that aren't doing anything, you're going to get to do something. And we'll see how that goes. Like you said, the call-ups, as always, are still going to make us nervous, especially because there's only so much screen time. But yeah. And then, of course, it's always interesting to look at the call-ups and think about how they make the decisions, how, EC3 has only been there a few months. But it makes sense to me. I understand he has a big pedigree behind him. He wasn't in a big storyline in NXT, so it was easy to be like, all right, yeah, you did a few months in NXT, now you're moving.
Well, he was also the same character with the same name over on Impact for years.
Right.
So he's been doing this a while. One downside in all of this is obviously the McMahons running the show, both shows.
Yes.
Because it's just another fake, well, not even fake, but, another storyline boss. But now, everyone has to cower and look like fools in front of them. That's the McMahon thing. Like, even on SmackDown, The Miz had to be like, oh, hello, Mr. McMahon. And, like, people who are, like, braggadocious and proud and strong, either as baby faces or heels, now have to be so humble and sort of milquetoast in front of the bosses, in front of the McMahons, because they're such, they're royalty. And they have to sort of cower before them, and we have to watch. There has to be a lot of door knocking, a lot of door openings, and hey, it's Mr. McMahon, or hey, it's Steph, and the crowd will, of course, go, yeah, because they're seeing them, and they're a live crowd. But that makes for shitty TV. Then the other side of that is things are going to change. They've heard us. Raw ratings are down. What about Brock Lesnar? Like, what are they listening to that?
Right.
What about
brought it up?
What about this? Right? What happens the very next time they announce the next Saudi Arabia show?
Yes. Yeah.
Which I guess we're assuming will happen after WrestleMania and be some sort of Greatest Royal Rumble sequel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are the bigger things that are also affecting a lot of people's enjoyment, especially week to week. Brock Lesnar, because it hurts having that belt gone. Obviously Dean and Seth can feud over the Intercontinental title. Having titles, though, gives you, it's the easiest instant storyline ever.
Mm-hmm.
Without it, because they obviously feature men more than the women on Raw and SmackDown. I don't know the exact ratios. People out there actually do sort of add up the screen time of the women versus men. But, the men get more screen time. When you have SmackDown, though, has 2 titles and one less hour, right? So when I'm watching something when I'm watching TLC and I'm watching Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre, or if I'm watching Raw for the Dolph versus Finn, which is leading to a big triple threat, Dolph versus Finn versus Drew, which is next week, I believe. Wouldn't it be awesome if they were all wrestling for the Universal Championship instead of wrestling for nothing, instead of wrestling for absolutely nothing? Like there is no reason Finn Balor should have been upset at Dolph Ziggler for interfering in his match, because he did it to Dolph 2 weeks earlier.
Yes,
he interfered and helped Dolph beat Drew 2 weeks earlier, Dolph did the same thing, but now Finn's mad because they all have to fight for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all fighting for nothing when they could be fighting over a championship. Whether or not you have Seth and Dean fighting for the Universal title and them fighting for the Intercontinental, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But you wind up with all these people just fighting for a pride or bragging rights or whatever. So that's, go ahead.
No, I was saying you make a good point, though. I didn't even think about that, how it's like, yeah, like because the Universal belt is an absentee belt with an absentee champ, the fact that there are more belts on SmackDown with 1 hour less, and that's weird. That doesn't make a lot of sense at all.
Yeah, it's just very noticeable now because of Raw's length. Yeah, exactly.
It's like it would make a lot more sense if they switched that, but they won't, because it's like, again, they see, they want, Raw is still the flagship show. The Universal belt, by its very name, is supposed to be bigger than the World Championship, even though their treatment of it has made it not.
Was Paige sent to a farm upstate to die? Like, what happened?
That's really strange. Again, they were trying to get ahead, right? Because Paige herself did a tweet about, like, a question mark tweet when they all came in and said we're taking over both shows. And then they really wanted to get ahead of that, right? So when Shane announced that they were taking over on SmackDown too, he went out of his way to praise Paige and have everyone cheer for her. And then the announcers praised Paige. And he said, she's not going anywhere. We have a new role for her. But what that is was not said at all, which probably means it just hasn't been decided at all.
But my question is it a new on-screen role for her, or are they literally telling the children, no, Fluffy went to a farm? Like, we as fans are just supposed to accept that Paige, somewhere backstage, has another role.
Right.
Like,
right.
She's not going to appear on camera anymore, but don't you worry. She's she's making a lateral position. She's now, part of branded content or, something.
Right.
Like, it didn't say whether or not she was... I mean, the easiest fix, whatever, is just to make her head of the women's division on Raw. But that's also very boring and a step down because she was in charge of both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So make her in charge of the men's division. That would be fun. Just do that. Why not do that? Why did she have to be in charge of the women's division? So, yeah, but so for all we know, it was really shitty because basically she was fired from her job and then she had to show up for her farewell party on SmackDown.
Right. I want also, by the way, what you were saying about how everyone has to bow down, and like visibly, like be like, kneel to the king with all four of them. I did like that they continued to protect Becky and like her current persona by not having her be there, which is the ultimate. In the past, they've done it with a lot of the guys who've been like the top of the food chain. Is they're not at those like everyone meetings, they're above that. They don't have to play by the rules.
But even then, Vince came out and then berated Charlotte and Becky for complaining about losing. You're complaining. You're coming up with excuses. When it's like you script. That's the thing. You script people to say things, and then you script yourself to insult them for saying the thing.
Right.
I
can see the appeal, Matt.
No, I know exactly. I want to do this podcast like that. I just want to have you say really dumb things and me be
Here,
like,
you're going to say this idiot thing, and then I'm going to tell you.
What are you, a blockhead? Yeah. So, a few things. I'll just spit out here quickly. The Lucha House Party rules obviously ended because that was something we all hated, and they were storyline.
Never saw it begin, middle, or end, but yeah.
Okay, they were terrible. I'm glad you got to remain Lucha House Party rules free, but they were attributed to Baron Corbin in storyline. That was his fault,
right?
Which is weird because it was a babyface thing that was popping the crowd, the kids especially, because Lucha House Party are colorful and fun, and they do flippity doos, and they were beating the Revival in 3-on-2 matches. And the kids loved it, but it was still treated in retrospect like a heel ruling. Like it was, Lucha House Party rules was a heel edict. It was a rule set forth by villains for villainous things, and therefore it has ended, even though when it was a babyface thing. It was also funny because